hanging out, the weight filtering down to the feet. Consciously enter the ground. Be willing to let your weight fall through the upright structure. Free falling. The weight just free falls through an empty upright structure. Free the abdomen, torso with the breathing. Allow a little extra movement on the in-breath, a complete retracing on the out-breath. Consciously enter your body with your awareness. Saturating the body's tissues with the mind. Noticing spontaneous, correct adjustments in the posture that occur. Releasing on each out breath. Becoming aware of your mind getting into every nook and cranny, every little place. It's like shining the light into every little corner in a room, even behind the furniture. Everything gets touched by that light of awareness. Good. Just shift your weight a little bit side to side with knees locked. We'll do a little bit of a physical warm-up. The heels come a little closer. Hands on the hips or here. Do some hip circles. The issue with having your hands here is totally fine for hip circles or whatever exercise we do. Just want to take an extra moment that you're not pulling up here and holding up here. People will tend to be having some sort of tension up here. If you can let your hands totally rest on your hips, so literally the weight of your arms and your hands are completely dropping, and that drop is just stopped by your hips, then this is totally fine to do. Otherwise, it's not good to do this because then you have upright, you have tension up here, cross, affects the breathing. But if you can hang those arms on the hips, then this is totally fine. Lower back is flat. And because we want to have whole body awareness, the simple hip circles, everything actually should be a whole body exercise, whole body movement. So turn these hip circles into a whole body movement. So you're aware of how everything, you can see my neck and head are being undulated. So again, scan your body, send your mind, use your Ting, get into every part. Get into every part of the body with your awareness. And notice how simple hip circles, we can have that touch every single part of the body, every single part. So for example, let's specifically think about the spine. Of course, it's working the lower part of the spine, but become aware of how it can touch all the way up. Or if it's not, how we can allow the movement, adjust the movement so it does touch every part. So we're adjusting movement and opening, releasing the body so it can, and we notice that it does touch every part of the body, right up to the top of the head. Even the inner ear is being stimulated. Little bones in the ears are actually rotating, being touched by this rotation. Of course, knees, ankles, all that, a little bit more obvious. Maybe not quite so obvious is the bones of the feet are undulating on the ground. The bones in the feet are rolling along the ground. These are the bones of the feet, rolling on the ground, just from doing hip circles. So those are the bones and the joints. Even feel the joints of the elbows. They're being addressed to some extent, to one degree or another. So this is the value and the power of developing Ting, developing awareness. We can have everything work for us. Everything can be training. Everything can be addressed. Simplest movement can be used to become a holistic, complete whole body movement. Feel, so those are the joints and the bones, soft tissue. Feel this simple movement massage the internal organs. So become aware of, or go in the direction of being aware of, even your intestines are being sloshed around by this movement. They're sliding on the inside abdominal bag, on the inside of the fascia of the abdominal bag. Intestines are being activated. Liver, all the internal organs, the liver, stomach. Become aware of the kidneys being touched and gently massaged and stimulated. As the ribs slide along the kidneys. And the other soft internal organs pressing and rubbing along the kidneys. Spleen and pancreas behind the stomach being rubbed and massaged by the stomach itself and by the back of the ribs. All that from hip circles. Feel your shoulder joints be coaxed into opening and releasing. And then sometimes, if you like, you can make this even, quite physical, very physical, really big hip circles. Just make sure, again, your lower back is flat, your knees are bent, so you're not going to kink or strain anything. If you make really big hip circles, if it is okay for you to do have a larger range of movement, then you can really feel that, do all the things that we just did, even more so. So the vertebrae are really being articulated. My neck, the cervical spine is being moved even more. Between the atlas vertebrae and the skull, that's being addressed and touched. I'm letting that be nice and big. Smaller. Now let's just work with, again, some simple movements and deep awareness. Keeping the lower back flat, knees bent. We're just going to do the torso. So this stays basically stationary. Hips, lower body stay stationary. And we're just going to spiral up from here up. Let that reverberate up through the spine, through the body, and through the top of the skull, and then the other way. This is all about developing the mind-body connection, learning to articulate the body finer and finer, developing the Ting, developing that inner sensitivity, inner awareness of what's going on inside the body. And the more the Ting develops, the more your inner sensitivity develops, the more you're able to consciously move Qi and have more effect, have more ability to move Qi, have that moving Qi have more effect in the body. That opens up more awareness, opens up more Ting. Now, maybe do another very simple movement, a very physical warm-up, rolling the shoulders. But for us, it's much more than simply rolling the shoulders. Everything is whole body, everything is whole mind. Developing Ting, developing internal awareness, literally getting inside the body in terms of the cells, the tissues, organs, muscles, connective tissue. So tune into the inner kaleidoscope, all the things that are happening in there. So we can parcel it out if you want. Spine. Notice the movement of the spine and the movement of the shoulder blades. And then we can adjust our movement to get very directed effects in the spine. Hang the hips as you do this. So part of the developing Ting, this is a huge part of it, developing the internal awareness, the mind-body connection, is noticing, for example, in this case, working with the spine specifically, the spine, what parts of the spine move quite easily, quite freely. Maybe it's the thoracic area, moves quite easily. Probably the area around the shoulder blades, that spine, that part of the spine probably moves quite directly and easily, and you're most easily aware of that part. But now shine your awareness to become aware of parts of the spine that are stiffer, that aren't moving as easily, and or your awareness isn't there as much. The light isn't shining there. The light isn't shining there as clearly. The light of awareness isn't shining there quite as clearly or brightly. Just using rolling shoulders, circles, as a vehicle to explore that and develop that. Developing the actual simple flexibility, physical flexibility, developing the ability to sink the mind into the body and to notice things more finely and more deeper. Notice what's happening with the vertebrae of the neck. Is that moving that area quite nicely and quite freely? Or is it a little bit, is it like one piece? Or is a part of it one piece and a couple of the vertebrae in the neck are quite open and mobile, but some are more fused and more stiff? All that should become available to you, or will become available to your awareness as you develop the ability to sink your mind into your body. Notice the changing. So here's an example of what I'm noticing. Notice the changing pressure along the orbital spaces. The changing pressure of the muscles and skin along the edge of the orbital holes. That's something you can feel. And something that you can actually address and release things there, change things there by this movement, any movement. Hang out, release the abdomen, breathe. What parts of your scalp can you feel because of this movement? So again, this is a kind of an upper body movement, right? Normally, to a normal physical exercise person. So what are we addressing in the lower body, or what are we not addressing physically or in terms of awareness in the lower body? And see if you can open up the passageways physically to allow the movement to touch those areas and open up the passageways of the light of your awareness. Feel this right down to the bones in your feet, for example. Feel this right down to the ankle joints. And if you hang from the string, continue to sink and hang, then that will be more available. Enter into your hands as you do the shoulder rolls, and notice and feel what's happening inside the hands due to this movement. A little movement in the elbow joints, wrist joints, the changing pressure in your hands and fingers. And let gravity work through you, dangling from the string. Feel the remnant vibrations that are still occurring through your body due to those movements. And feel that those movements, those vibrations are still alive in your body and moving through your body. Your Ting will allow you to sense that. The movements we've been doing the last 2 minutes are still alive, moving through your body. The vibration is still there. Track that, notice that, develop that inner fine awareness. Allow the weight to sink and fall through the body, through the feet, and feel the ongoing vibration. Gently shift your weight, slowly shift your weight to one leg. On the heel, we'll do a simple warm up of the hip joint, but it's actually, again, global, whole body. Make sure knee is bent and that you're not, when you stand on one leg, there's going to be more of a tendency to be holding in, holding up as best you can. Hang out. You'll need strength to be able to do that. Hang out, make sure things aren't jutting out. You need the strength and structure. Hang straight, and weight just follows through. And rotating from the ball joint of the hip, and feel that move through your entire body. So this, you see this arm here moving, both arms, but this one's a little bit more visible maybe. Obviously, I'm not moving that arm. That arm's being moved. This is a leg exercise, right? But you can see the reverberation through the body. It's kind of visible in the arms. And you want your, not just seeing that visually, you want your inner awareness, your Ting, your inner awareness, seeing that, to really feeling it. So that it's in your awareness and everywhere else. And slowly to the other side. So everything is global, everything is complete, everything is holistic, everything's connected. Every joint's connected and through the fascia system. Literally everything is on one big web. And so we're becoming more conscious of that unity, that connection, integration, and make it a more living, complete integration to the developing of the inner sensitivity and awareness. Let that movement release your abdomen and jostle your shoulders loose and any other tensions loose in the upper body. Jostle it loose. And then switch, and we'll go on the ball of the foot, rotating. And then release the body. Hanging out so you're not collapsed. Everything's loose and open. The further step would be to put breath or awareness or presence in the joints themselves. That would be the next step. And that gives you even more form and more pung, more support. So it's good to be loose. This is loose and but kind of collapsed. I'm loose and soft, but there's no living presence. There isn't intentional presence. So I fill my joints with presence and I'm boinged up. Boinged is a technical term, so not everybody knows that term. Other side. And let that reverberation move through the body, through the joints, that vibration. And then one more thing, to the other side again. Knee rotations. This is really a nice spiral action that moves through the body. So invite that spiral action to move through the body. Releasing. And then at first, for a while, it's a soft softening, releasing, a bit of a drooping collapse. At least you're getting relaxed. But at some point, it's yin and yang. So the softness, hanging, that's yin. But we want yin and yang happening at the same time. So eventually you want to have more, you'll develop more and more clarity and have the yang of open space in the joints. Then you become an even more vibrant spring. And the other way too. Another side. Relaxed, released, mobile, open, unified, living composite. So this is affecting my fingers as much as my leg. Cervical spine as much as anything else. Bones in the inner ear. Nasal cavities. That spiral is working through everything. And you'd be present to notice it. And then therefore encourage it to be more so. Okay. Hang out. Breathe. Let's do the spinal wave and this idea that every little movement has a reverberating effect. So sit back a little bit so you can have the tailbone pulled forward. Maybe the first couple, just kind of get a sense of, again, rolling the vertebrae one at a time. We've done this before, so once you remember this move, notice the reverberating effect. So the first and obvious effect is the spine, but now become more global in your noticing the internal organs, including the lungs. Notice what happens with them, how they're affected. Shoulders. The arms can hang and be gently swung. Now, give you another example of how you can become aware more finely of more and more things, and also choose to become very aware of a particular area very, very, very finely, and therefore work it very consciously. So here's an example that's happening for me, that actually I'm doing. It's happening for me and also that I'm doing. I can use this so-called spinal wave or spinal rule to open up my throat and esophagus. So if you want to try that, feel free. As you roll up here, you get to basically the cervical spine, come to the front of your neck with your awareness and have that roll your neck open and feel the stretch and opening in the throat. That literally can be, it can rehabilitate issues with the physical throat, the voice box, tightness that you've noticed that is there. So literally this spinal wave can be used to address tightness in the neck and throat, specifically the throat if you wanted, and to open and, so it's therapeutic for the throat, tension in the throat or issues in the throat. So in this case, when I do that, it sends my chin a little bit more up because I am consciously, with intention, letting that wave roll to the front of my neck. Does that make sense? I'm specifically moving my intention to address a specific area, and it becomes a very gentle but very thorough massage, releasing therapeutic action. Rolling the spine in the lateral directions that we often do. Again, knees bent, lower back flat, lower vertebrae, tailbone first, then the next bone, the next bone, next bone. So the spine is fairly obvious, although we can get finer and finer, deeper and deeper with the awareness of even the obvious parts. That's important too. But right now we can open up to maybe other areas that we wouldn't necessarily be shining our light of attention to. So again, some steps in that direction is notice the massage on the internal organs. You could notice the inner ear. This is very definitely affecting the inner ear and the little bones in the inner ear. Most definitely it's affecting those. It's just a matter of, can we notice that or not? Can we ting that or not? And attempting to ting or attempting to be aware of it develops the awareness. Working the edge of your abilities, the peripherals of your abilities, the very periphery of your awareness at this moment in time opens the gate, opens the door to that awareness expanding and developing. So fake it till you make it. Imagine you can feel the inner ear being addressed and being touched by this movement. And then some part of your neural system is tuning into that. And so those neural passageways are getting built, developed, and strengthened, even if you can't notice it yet. That's the whole science that visualization is based on for sports. So you're visualizing shooting basketballs and all that, building those neurological pathways. You can't feel it at first, but you keep doing it, and then it becomes something that you can sense. Any thoughts, comments, or questions? Let's do another very simple exercise we do sometimes, knee rotations or knee circles. And of course, when we say it, call them knee circles, then that's what we think of, and that's usually all we think of. And we also tend to do them quite muscularly or externally. Becoming aware of it as not a knee movement, but a global body movement makes it deeper as well, not just external, but we get more aware of what's happening inside, and then we can work from the inside out. So knee circles are a good example because I got my hands on my knees, and obviously I'm doing this for my knees. And it's kind of tends to be isolated, right? If not in the knees, certainly the lower body. So let's use knee circles as a gateway to expand our ting, to open up our awareness through the rest of the body, to sync our mind into and through the body. Doesn't matter what move we're doing. So in this case, knee circles. Of course, notice what how the knees are being affected. So feel free to adjust the knee circles various ways that you want. Become aware of what it's doing for your ankles. and the bones in the feet and toes. They're certainly being massaged. And with attention and awareness, they can be coaxed open. So you can free up. You can coax any part of the body to free up doing knee circles. Okay, now notice a nice pull and stretch in the lower back. Every time you move your knees through a certain part of the arc, pulls and stretches on the lower back in a good way if you allow it. And again, if you relax the upper body, feel that movement through the spine. Of course, doing diverging circles, whether this way, apart, or together, that's really addressing the hip joints. Notice what that does for the hip joints in there. Now, if you take a quick look, you even notice that as I do this, it's moving my shoulder joints, something that maybe a person wouldn't have never ever noticed. So I'm becoming aware of how it's gently rotating the shoulder joints. Of course, the arms are bent, the elbows are bent a little bit, and the arms are giving a bit of support for the upper body. Those elbows are being addressed and massaged. Wrists, fingers. This is all from knee rotations. Now, if you want, let those circles get really big, moving the knees together, same direction, and feel that again spiral and reverberate up through your body to the crown of the head. So you might be able to see that with my head, and you want to see if you can feel your head being rotated, the very crown of your head, just as if we were doing head circles. Well, these head circles here that I'm doing now, if you want to stand up, and just do a few head circles where you're kind of drawing a circle on the ceiling with the crown of your head, just so you get a sense of that circular motion, right? So we're doing that actually physically. Well, come down here again and feel how that's happening for you, and how you can encourage that to happen more freely and more generously. Okay, so bring your hips forward and through to roll your spine up. And come into some movement, a room length of parting horse's mane. And keep your awareness roaming through your body. And become aware of all the different parts of the body you can be aware of at one time. And notice how all or many of the joints of the body are being addressed and are being touched and stimulated. So the rolling pressure on the bottoms of my feet, that rolls through my ankle joint, up through the knee. Keeping your mind in your body and continually getting deeper and also more expansive inside the body. Deeper and more expansive inside the body. Becoming aware of the body more and more as a whole. As you hang the hips, can you feel it open up your ears? As I hang the hips to stretch the spine, it opens up the ears. Just like when you have, blocked ear and move your jaw around, it pops the ear open again. You can feel that if you hang the hips to allow the spine to be stretched, it'll open up the ears. Just like you're on a plane and you're chewing gum or you yawn and it opens up the ear drums. You can get that from the hanging of the spine. Open up the ears. you'd like to move into brush knees, or you can stay with what you're doing, is fine. The main thing is seeing how every part of the body is touched. There's a saying, very old saying in Tai Chi, if one part moves, all parts move. One part moves, all parts move. And if you're truly hanging out and integrated, not just soft hanging out, not just soft, released and hanging out, but also again, filled with pung, filled with presence. You touch one tiny little part of the body, every part of the body is touched. It's like hitting the edge of a glass of water. That wave goes through that water, or dropping a pebble in the water, reverberates out. So it's not just moving the legs and moving the arms. Every joint is being touched. Releasing the abdomen and hanging the spine makes you a better empty vessel to allow those reverberations to wave through. Okay, let's come back to a little wind down. So as we hang out and breathe, belly breathe, just see if you can feel the movement of your breathing touch more and more parts of your body. So, and with this will probably cut out at any moment. So we're just making now the movement, simply the movement of our breathing. And with this now more sensitive Ting, more sensitive awareness, just a little movement of the breath and the ribs, feel that reverberate to the furthest points of the body. The pulse of the breath touching every peripheral, every nook and cranny. And that's your awareness going to the light of your consciousness, going to every nook and cranny.